Hey, I'm Mark Hunter, the sales hunter. And yeah, you got it. You're back with Countdown to Outbound. This morning, oh man, you better have a cup of coffee. I got a cup of coffee because we have got coming into the studio in just a second, the highly caffeinated, highly vaccinated Darryl Praill. And of course, he's the CRO at VanillaSoft. And we really want to do a big shout out to them because I'll tell you what, without their support, Outbound would not happen. So, hey, let's get the show rolling. We'll hit the video and Darryl will be with us. Darryl, welcome. How you doing, man? Darryl, you can talk anytime. Darryl froze up. That is very unusual for Darryl because normally he is highly active, highly caffeinated. But hey, Darryl, we'll get live here in just a second. That's okay. That's why we like live. How are you, Darryl?
I'm here.
Yes, you're here. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening.
Gotta love the beauty of working from home and having questionable internet. So, but I have a backup and I switched and here I am.
Well, that's because you are highly caffeinated and highly vaccinated. So that's pretty
I have my coffee here, number 2. So I'm feeling good.
Good. Hey, Outbound. Looking forward to it. But let's not really so much talk about Outbound. Let's talk about what are you seeing in sales? Because, hey, for people who may not be familiar with Darryl, like, where have you been? Living in a cave? Because Darryl is like all over the internet. It's worldwide Darryl's internet. So what are you seeing from a sales perspective? What are you seeing happening out there? And this is good because we have sketchy internet again. It's okay. It's okay.
I don't know what's going on, dude. It's all good.
It's okay. Hey, keep talking, man. You're great. You're good.
You must get the best freeze frames of my face. I do apologize about that. That's not pretty to look at. All right. You were asking me about sales. Go ahead.
Yeah. Talk to me about sales. What are you seeing?
Oh my gosh. What am I seeing? You want to know the good, the bad, the ugly? What is it you want to know? Give me some direction here.
Let's hear the good, the ugly, and the bad, okay? And then we'll end up with
all
some
right,
more good.
The good. Okay? What am I seeing in sales? I am seeing a true, the interesting thing about COVID, we all went and worked from home and all these communities developed and everybody started binging on communities and we all got zoomed out. And I'm feeling like we're after that now. And I'm seeing a lot of actual community really get established where people are genuinely going to each other and seeking help. And that's huge because sales reps are not known for the seeking help aspect because they're the best. They have all the answers. Get out of my way. Hold my beer. And now I'm actually seeing healthy conversations, respectful conversations taking place that I'm on fire about. And the biggest thing I say to salespeople when I talk to them, I'm like, do you have a tribe? Are you part of a community? And the ones who are like, they just light up. And the ones who are not are like, well, not really. And I'm like, you got to go there. You got to go there. You need a tribe. You need a place to go to better your craft and know you're not alone. Somebody who's not your boss, somebody who's not your peer, you can go and be transparent and authentic with. And you will be a better, more successful rep if you do that because we're not expecting you to have all the answers, but we are expecting you to develop yourself. Learning is earning. So seeing a real consolidation around community to grow ourselves. And I'm loving that.
Hey, you know what? We should stop right there because that's one of the things Outbound is all about. Outbound's about
community. It is.
And years past, I've always seen people who come, they connect with people and they wind up staying connected with them for years. So that's great. So, okay. So that's some of the good. What are you seeing as some of the ugly?
Oh, some of the ugly. Okay, so the ugly. I'll stick in the same kind of vein, if you will. And this is something I think has been out there for forever. I know it's been out there for forever, but it's more evident these days with our current technology capabilities, which is I'm seeing a lot of reps going out there, or even leaders, or even noted influencers giving really, really, really bad advice and positioning themselves as the expert and steering a lot of people wrong. And I'm seeing a lot of young people in sales with not much life experience, especially in the profession, blindly following them or defending the bad advice. And so what you've got is a bit of an echo chamber going on there. So we need more discernment. It's almost like it's taboo to challenge somebody and say, really? What makes you think that? Unless you've got salt and pepper hair, in which case then you're allowed to challenge them and they're a little respectful to you. I would go ahead.
I was going to say, so one of the things we can push back on is the whole thing about cold calling and the whole thing of, I got to socially connect with this person first and before I can pitch them.
I saw a piece of advice last night that I lost my mind on, which was this person, and I love the fact that they were thinking this way. They're like, hey, I've got this really amazing pattern interrupt, and it's going to generate amazing results for me, which is, I used to go and ask for time on their calendars and everything, and now this is what I've started doing, reaching out to the heads of sales and CROs, is I tell them, I'm calling you tomorrow at 11:30. I'm sending them an email or social. I'm calling you. And this results in either a call or a go away, this is why, and that way at least I know and I don't bother them ever again. So on the surface level, that sounds very plausible. So two options, this is what happens. And I respond, I'm like, you forgot the third option where I totally ignore you because I get 50 million of these a day. It's not a pattern interrupt, number one. But number two, more than anything, what you've just showed me is you have no idea who it is you're calling into. I guarantee you there's no CRO, no VP of sales who simply has 11:30 tomorrow morning open on their calendar less than a day out. You have no clue about the person you're selling into. You need to be looking at a week, 2 weeks, and 3 weeks out, possibly. And I said, when I see that, I just instantly know that you have no value to me. And it was, yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, I have received in the last week 4 LinkedIn messages from people who are saying, hey, I see you're looking for a new opportunity. I've got some great franchise opportunities available for you.
Yes, I've got those too.
Right. So clearly somebody is just promoting this out there. So yeah, so you've received, and this message is going out to thousands. It's funny. I've sent back to each one of those people. I'm researching for my new book on prospecting. Would love to understand from you, how many of these identical messages do you send out a day and what is your response rate? I've not heard back from any one of them.
You haven't heard back. Well, I pushed back on this one yesterday. It was an interesting conversation. I'll give him credit because I said, this is why, here's my answer. You don't know your ICP, your ideal customer profile. And they responded back to me saying, well, I'm just following, and respectfully, Darryl, I'm just following the data and I'm getting great response. And you see, that's the problem with these experts. This is the ugly, right? Where they set you, they're following the data. They must be smart. They have data. And my response to them back was, okay, well, wait a minute. The people that are responding to you, are they your ideal customer profile? Because if they have time on their calendar tomorrow with less than 24 hours notice, chances are they're small, which means they're going to churn a hell of a lot more. They're going to be a higher cost of acquisition. All right. And you're going to lose money on this account. I said, can you tell me what your data says about your actual conversion rate and your long-term customer, lifetime value on that result? Crickets. And that's the thing. Too many reps aren't thinking this through. Just because they respond to you doesn't mean that's the customer you want. And they don't understand that. So I'm seeing a lot of really bad advice by people claiming that they're experts or implying that they're experts, and too many people blindly following them. So like anything else in life, kids, buyer beware. Put your thinking cap on and actually use some critical thinking skills and challenge them. Because in the end, if they have thought this through and they give you great responses back, you've had a healthy conversation, you've vetted the advice, and now you can go apply it. But if it turns out they're only at a surface level, then you've avoided a mistake. But blindly following them, listening to these experts who they've been out of school for a year and a half and they're an expert, just understand what you're doing.
But they have a lot of followers on Instagram and TikTok. I mean, why should I not follow them? Yeah.
Yes, they have a lot of followers. They have a lot of comments. Yes. 90% of them are like, love it.
You love it.
Preach.
Yeah. Because this is the whole thing. People, I love the people who are out there preaching the easy button. This is the way you fill your pipeline. This is the way you do it. It's just, you just send enough crap out there and
it's a numbers game.
Oh man, I tell you what. Okay, so you've touched on the good and the ugly. Now, how can the ugly not be bad? But I have a feeling you've got a bad for us.
How can the ugly not be? So are we doing bad now or are we doing ugly? I'm not sure what I just
Well,
did, if
you
it was
did
bad or
ugly.
ugly.
I thought it was ugly before, but maybe that was
It
bad.
was ugly. All right, let's do the bad.
Let's do the bad.
Okay, here's the bad. I am seeing actual sales reps being not as coachable as they should be. So they nod their head when they're given the advice, whether it be from their bosses or their sales enablement peeps or industry experts like Mark, the sales hunter, and they're saying yes, and then they never apply it. And when you drill down with it, either it's a laziness thing or it's well, I heard you, but it's not for me. It's not for me. When that's just bad. Because what you need to do in the simplest way is when you're given advice that's plausible or that's coming from a good source, like a Mark the sales hunter or your boss whom you respect, it may not be for you. That's cool. But you need to go through the motions of actually at least testing it. So you can understand, so when you come back and say, it's not for me, is you can say, I'm following the data. Remember the data part here? We just talked about that in the last segment. So you can say, I did an A/B test and this didn't work for me. Or I did an ABC test, which is A is what you said, B is what I normally do. And then C is a hybrid, all right? Or kind of mix a little bit of me and a little bit of you. And after a month, these are the numbers. So instead what they're choosing to be is they're choosing just to ignore it, or they don't have the energy or the inclination. So that's the bad part. I would say that the bad part, though, is shared not just with sales reps. I'm talking sales reps here. I want to be equally harsh towards the other side of the equation, which are sales leaders. If you've got reps that are not coachable, why is that? It's either you're not a good coach, so you need to adapt. And too many of them say, well, they need to adapt to me. Do you parent that way? Do you tell your 4-year-old they need to adapt to your parenting style? Do you adapt to them? That's the first part. The second part is you get what you purchase, so to speak, right? So you hired them. So if you got a rep that's not coachable, then you need to go back and look at your hiring or your onboarding process to see why is that in the first place. Not all reps are not coachable. Sometimes they're a product of their environment. So reps, you should know better. Sales managers, you need to take ownership because at the end of the day, if your reps succeed, then you succeed. So it's not about me being right and you being wrong. It's about you adapting to the organization and making sure you have the right hiring and onboarding processes to get the right reps. So that's what I'm seeing as bad. That's been out there for ages. But the difference is now we just have so many tools and techniques and methodologies and frameworks to make this all go away. So there really is no excuse.
Well, I tell you what, there's so much we can unpack there. And I got to share with you this funny situation. And I encounter this. Somebody will call me up and say, hey, I really like your book. And they go, I'd like to get it, but my company won't pay for it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Like, yes. Hold it. Excuse me. Your company won't. You can't buy this book yourself. You can't. And it's the same thing I find with people who I coach. And this is what's interesting. People who I coach who are paying for the coaching out of their own pocket are much more in tune. They are much more in tune than those who are feeling they've been pushed into it. They've been pushed into it. And in fact, you know what? That's kind of an interesting makeup. And you'll see this here in a few weeks because I'm so glad you're going to be at OutBound because VanillaSoft is the title sponsor. But everybody who is at OutBound is there because they want to be there. And man, does it make a room full of type A personalities who are just charging forward from a sales standpoint. And that's huge. But that comes back to that first piece you said about the good terms of the community. Now, hey, I want to get your opinion because the economy is clearly picking back up. Now, you spend the majority of your time in Canada. Well, you are in Canada, yes. But most of your business is in the U.S. Correct. What are you seeing? What are you sensing in terms of the global? And you have a big presence in the UK, VanillaSoft. So what are you seeing from a global standpoint from a sales perspective?
So it was interesting. If I go back to kind of peak COVID, last year, we saw a dip of a couple of months, nothing major. I think our worst month, we dipped 15% over our historical, and then we recovered within 2 or 3 months. And ever since then, we've been, above historical norms. So we didn't, we saw a brief pullback for a quarter, let's call it that. And then, it was business as usual. With that said, it wasn't like we were blowing the doors off of, there was still a conservatism. What we're seeing now, literally in the last quarter, definitely the last quarter or two. So let's call it all of 2021. And I don't know if this is a reflection of the change in we've gone from, sourcing a vaccine to now rolling a vaccine out. I'm assuming that that's a large driver of it. But now it's just like, how fast can we go? And everybody is full steam ahead. And they're talking, they're not just, how do I put this? It's not like they're buying 1 or 2 seats to kind of kick the tires, and we're not really sure. I'm looking for some filler work to do until this is all behind us. Now, this is like we're doing massive rollouts, massive process re-engineering. This is they're going nuts. So this is like 18 months ago. Now, the other part that's really interesting is we're seeing a true hunger to get back to events. Now, and I say this because obviously we're in the sales community, and as you've said, we're the title sponsor. This is just one of many events that we do, but we also have our own, events, and we're seeing a massive hunger to get back to face-to-face. So you're going to have a segment who still want the virtual experience, whether it's for budgetary reasons, they don't want to incur the hotel and travel, or, some are just more conservative. But as a whole, people cannot get to live events fast enough. And what's been really interesting, because you're right, me being in Canada, we're in a slightly different circumstance than the US is, simply because we don't have the same supply chain volumes of vaccine that the US has, because you manufacture it. We're an importer of the vaccine. And then, of course, we're competing with all the other countries in the world. So what we see here in Canada, even then when it's more conservative, is the exact same thing. Like, we're ready. Let's do this. So what's so funny about that is the timing of Outbound. To me, Outbound is going to be, it appears to be in all of our conversations, because our reps talk every single day about, hey, you want a sales engagement platform? And well, I've got you. Are you going to Outbound? And they're getting a massive people just thrilled to be back together. One of the things I talk about a lot, which I think is why Outbound specifically is let's call it an inflection point, because we're seeing events happening September, October, November. So Outbound is going to be one of the earlier ones. Is people are excited about Outbound specifically for the reasons you said. And I describe it this way. I say, this is not a vendor event. It's not like I'm putting on an event. Therefore, you may infer that the content is biased towards me and my position or my product. It's not a research event like a Gartner or Forrester, where it's only catering to the enterprise accounts, mostly in high tech, mostly with billion-dollar budgets. It's an event by salespeople for salespeople, with the sole intention of just learning in community. All right, with no bias, no agenda. It's not like you or Anthony or Victor or Jeb need to sell more books. You're already kicking ass on the books. You're already in demand. This is simply a community thing, and people are stoked about this event specifically. So I think this is a true litmus test of the fact that we have turned the corner and we're heading back to normal. Thankfully.
Yeah. I'll tell you what comments I'm hearing. I was talking to a CEO the other day, and he was really hesitant to kind of offer up events, because he's got some trade shows in July and August that they really want to get going to. And he was trying to test the water of his team as to whether or not they would want to go to Outbound, which is in June. And this was about a month ago. He said, Mark, I'm not getting any response. In fact, I'm really questioning if I'm going to participate in these trade shows in July and August, and we need to. Well, I talked to him the other day, and his tune has totally changed. His people are so stoked to get out there. His salespeople, his marketing team, it is absolutely unbelievable. In fact, his marketing team is coming back asking him for more money, because they want to up their booth space, up their involvement in various trade shows. And so I think there is a real hunger, and it's almost that first that first person on the scene. In fact, this is funny. I was having breakfast with a business owner, and he and one of his salespeople, they're in the healthcare arena. They visited a major healthcare system. This was about 3 weeks ago. And they were ecstatic to welcome them in. And they said, "You are the first salespeople we have seen in almost 10 months.
Yeah.
Wow. He was shocked. And he came back to his office and he told his entire sales team, he said, "We have got to get out there now. Go, 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 go." Now, all following all CDC guidelines, making sure it's prudent and everything. But there's a tremendous amount of business out there waiting for salespeople. Yeah. So it's cool. It's great.
Well, it's even beyond the live events, right? Like, so it's interesting. I saw a social post the other day from an individual I shall not name. Respect to it, fellow. A lot of time for this individual saying, work from home is here to stay, right? And everybody, employers, you need to embrace it and adopt it because it is what it is. And my response to him was, really? Because that's not what I'm seeing. What I'm seeing is maybe a hybrid approach, but I'm seeing most employees are hungry to get back into the office. Maybe not full time. I want to be clear on that. Maybe a balance would be the better way to go. But they miss face to face. They miss shared meals. They miss the energy of the body language of being together and brainstorming and learning from one another. And what I see across not just our organization at VanillaSoft, but everywhere else too, is this Zoom exhaustion and this anxiety of all the kids in the background and everything else. And can I just get to the office where I have my desk and I have my sanity and I can work with my coworkers? So I'm seeing kind of this people where they do want to get back together. And I think OutBound, in fact, how do I put it this? I wouldn't be shocked if OutBound breaks all-time records for in-person attendance. I know this is the first time we're doing virtual as well as a part of the delivery mechanism, but I would not be shocked if we break all-time records at OutBound for live and event attendance.
I'm not going to. I'm
pent up.
Yeah, I'm not going to be surprised. There is so much pent up demand. Hey, we got to wrap this up here in a second now. For those of you need to stick around, because after we roll a video here in a bit, we do a little after the show, which is where Darryl and I get really blunt with each other because we haven't been honest with each other up to this point in time. But anyway, hey, real quick, VanillaSoft, where can people go? Give us a 30-second, 10-second. What is VanillaSoft?
All right, so I'll take 20 seconds. That's the middle point. VanillaSoft is a sales engagement platform. Just like you might have Outreach or SalesLoft, exact same thing, multi-channel engagement, phone, email, social. So you can triple your pipeline and actually have more conversations and more positive outcomes versus traditional approaches using just CRM. So it's a phenomenal investment, core part of any tech stack. We focus specifically on the SMB space, so not enterprise. And we focus on what we call real world industries, which ironically wouldn't be high tech. They're early adopters. It'd be places like insurance, finance, healthcare, higher ed, etc. So that's our sweet spot. And that's what we do. And if you're in that industry, give me a shout and I'll actually show you why you may want to just consider it as part of your tool bag of tricks.
And of course, you're going to be at outboundconference.com. June 15th through the 18th live, virtual 13th through the 18th. Use VanillaSoft 100 to save $100, or you can use mine, Mark 100. But hey,
Mark 100 is shorter. But to be clear, that's Mark with a K, not Mark with a C for cute and cuddly.
Well, I didn't want to say that, but you and I have known each other a long time. So hey, with that, let's roll the video. But stick around because we got the after the show coming up in just 30 seconds. Hey, despite the internet, that was a good show.
It was a good one. I apologize. And don't you love it? Like, we're live. I was in the green room. Everything was fine. And then literally as you're pulling me on stage, boom, it goes out.
Hey, you
Not
know
once, twice.
That stuff happens, and your face is fuzzy right now, which is really kind of looks better that way. So I'm just saying,
it could be my beard.
Just being honest with you. So anyway, but it's funny though. We've known each other for a few years now, and I'll tell you what, it's kind of a kick in the pants right now being in sales, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's interesting times.
Yeah. So what's on plan for you now? You got your vaccine, so you're going to be at Outbound, right?
Correct.
Good. I love it. So will that be your first trip south of the border?
It will. And I was explaining this to somebody this morning. I was on a call actually with the folks at SaaStr. I was on one of their shows and we're talking about this. And I said, for a lot of Americans, you need to understand what it is for somebody international to travel. And we don't think of Canada as being international because we're just, little America on the top of the head, right? That's where we're located. But the reality is when I go across, I have to get a test 72 hours before I go across to say I'm negative. And when I come back, I have to have also a test before I actually fly back. So that's usually, $250 a pop. So that's a $500 investment right there. And then in Canada, when I come back, I can only fly in certain cities right now. And I have to immediately quarantine in a government approved hotel for 3 days. That's going to cost me upwards of $2,000. And if I have a negative test at the end of those 3 days, then I can go home for the balance of my 2 weeks and I have to quarantine and they call me regularly to make sure I'm at home. And if I'm not, I get a massive fine. But if I get a positive test, I have to stay in the hotel again. So if 3 days costs $2,000, you're probably going to drop another, at least 3 days for $2,000. So it's not an insignificant investment for us to travel across. So that's the issue. And the other part that people don't realize is, we talked briefly about this, is, countries like the US and India and other countries where they have homegrown production facilities, you guys are doing great. Like you're all, I heard this morning, you're over 40% vaccinated as a country, of which that's both shots. Whereas here, I think we're 32 or 33% vaccinated, but that's one shot. And my next shot, instead of being 3 or 4 weeks, my next shot is going to be in 4 months. So my next shot's going to be in August.
Wow.
So,
I'll tell you what, we will trade you vaccine for lumber. How's that sound?
Yeah. Lumber and I'm going to say irony. Lumber is one of our massive exports. We're Canada. We're like more trees than we are people by far. And it's gold. If you look at the used, Facebook marketplace, you can get, here's a 14-year-old deck in a highly weathered condition, $5,000, right? Come tear it down yourself. It's nuts.
Come tear it down yourself. I love that.
Yes.
That's good. Okay. Hey, we need to run because I need to go tear down my deck because I'm going to put it up on Facebook here real quick here, Facebook Marketplace. So anyway, hey, thank you. I'm looking forward to seeing you face to face.
I am as well. Long overdue, my friend.
Long overdue. So anyway, hey, with that, we got to get out of here, okay? Because we are over our time. But hey, you're Canadian, so we have to be respectfully nice to you.
Well, my time has got a 30% discount because of currency exchange. So this is still early for me.
Hey, that's your problem, not mine, okay? Okay. Okay. Hey, take care, man. See you later.
Be good.